Some decisions feel confusing only because you are asking which option is easier instead of which option agrees with who you are responsible to become. That is very important. Confusion is not always the absence of information. Sometimes confusion is the result of having no established standard. Imagine receiving two attractive opportunities. One offers recognition, immediate income, and the approval of people you respect. The other offers slower growth, deeper alignment, and responsibilities that nobody may applaud. Both require an answer quickly. Your family has an opinion, your friends have an opinion, your emotions have several opinions, and they keep changing every 15 minutes. Now you call the situation confusing. But perhaps the options are not confusing. Perhaps the pressure is simply loud. Pressure is any force demanding a decision before principle has been allowed to speak. Write that down. Pressure demands speed. Principle demands examination. Pressure says, answer now. Principle asks, according to what standard? 4 counterfeit decision makers usually enter that room. The first is urgency. Urgency exaggerates the deadline until haste appears to be wisdom. The second is approval. Approval magnifies everybody's reaction until their comfort becomes your command. The third is fear. Fear predicts everything you might lose while remaining strangely silent about what compromise could cost. The fourth is immediate reward. Immediate reward shows you the benefit at the door, but hides the bill waiting inside. Are you with me? Your feelings are not useless. Anxiety may reveal uncertainty. Excitement may reveal desire. Reluctance may reveal risk. Feelings can supply information, but they must not receive authority. A warning light can inform the driver. It must not seize the steering wheel. Now think of one unresolved decision in your life. Do not choose 10. Choose one. Is it a job, a relationship, an obligation, an investment, a move, or an opportunity? Which counterfeit decision maker has been dominating it? Urgency, approval, fear, or immediate reward? Here is the governing principle. When the standard is undecided, the loudest pressure receives the deciding vote. That is why emotional intensity is not evidence that a choice is right. Noise is not direction. Speed is not clarity. Popularity is not permission. We need a stable standard. We will test the choice through 4 kingdom questions: identity, assignment, stewardship, and integrity. But before we apply those 4 tests, we must define what a decision filter is and understand why its standard must be settled before the moment of pressure arrives. A decision filter is a pre-established set of principles that determines what may enter your life, what may remain in your life, and what must be rejected from your life. Notice the important word, pre-established. You do not create the standard after the offer arrives. You establish it before the offer begins speaking. Preference asks, what attracts me now? Principle asks, what will still be right when this emotion has passed? Preference changes with appetite, fatigue, praise, and disappointment. Principle remains steady. If your standard changes every time your feelings change, then you do not have a standard. You have a mood with a microphone. Kingdom decision-making brings personal choice under higher government. It says, my freedom to choose does not mean every choice is wise. My decision must answer to my identity, my entrusted responsibility, my management of resources, and my character. In other words, the question is not merely, can I do this? It is, does this choice belong in the life I have been given to govern? The worst time to invent a value is when temptation is attractive, praise is intoxicating, fear is shouting, or exhaustion is weakening your resistance. That is why disciplined people practice pre-decided obedience. They settle the governing value before the difficult moment arrives. They do not wait until they are tired to decide whether commitment matters. They do not wait until they are applauded to decide whether integrity matters. Now write these 4 words vertically: identity, assignment, stewardship, integrity. Leave space beneath each one. Identity asks, who will this choice train me to become? Assignment asks, does this belong to what I am responsible for in this season? Stewardship asks, what will this consume in time, attention, money, energy, and trust? Integrity asks, can I carry this out without violating truth, conviction, or commitment? The order matters. Identity establishes the person. Assignment establishes the priority. Stewardship exposes the cost. Integrity governs the method. Together, they prevent you from calling self-betrayal an opportunity, neglecting responsibility in the name of ambition, wasting resources in the name of faith, or compromising character in the name of progress. Now, this filter will not remove every unknown. It will not make courage unnecessary. You may still feel nervous. You may still surrender something valuable. But uncertainty and disorder are not the same thing. You can lack complete information and still possess a clear standard. So we begin with the deepest test, identity. Because when a person has not settled who they are, acceptance and opportunity can persuade them to become almost anything. Identity is the settled understanding of who you are under God, what values govern your life, and what kind of character you are becoming. Identity is not merely what you call yourself. It is the internal government that determines what you will accept, what you will refuse, and how you will behave when nobody is rewarding you. Your title is not your identity. Your income is not your identity. Your relationship status is not your identity. Your public image is not your identity. And please hear this. The latest opinion of an audience is certainly not your identity. If applause can create you, criticism can destroy you. Anything people can give you today and withdraw tomorrow is too unstable to govern your life. So the first diagnostic question is this: what kind of person must I repeatedly become in order to accept and maintain this choice? Do not ask only what the opportunity will give you. Ask what it will train in you. Will it train courage or pretending? Discipline or performance? Confidence or dependence? Truthfulness or manipulation? Every opportunity contains a curriculum. While you are working the opportunity is also working on you. Now, growth will stretch you. Do not confuse stretching with distortion. A worthy responsibility may expose your weakness, demand preparation, and require courage beyond your comfort. That is stretching. Distortion is different. Distortion requires you to hide your convictions, shrink your voice, tolerate dishonor to remain included, imitate somebody else's path, or perform a false personality for acceptance. Suppose you are offered a prestigious role. The title is impressive. The visibility is attractive. People congratulate you before you have even accepted it. But the culture rewards conduct you have already decided not to practice. To succeed there, you must conceal what you believe, manipulate people you should serve, and become agreeable in public while disturbed in private. Is that promotion? Perhaps financially, perhaps socially. But the identity question is not how impressive is the position. The question is, who must I become to remain in it? A higher platform that requires a lower character is not elevation. Confidence borrowed from applause will always need another payment. It must be fed with compliments, attention, and reassurance. But confidence rooted in identity can receive counsel without surrendering responsibility. It can listen without becoming controlled. It can be corrected without collapsing. It can also be misunderstood without abandoning conviction. Write 3 statements beneath the word identity. First, I am becoming a person who. Second, the values I will not negotiate are. Third, for acceptance I will no longer. Now apply those statements to your unresolved choice. Mark the option with one of 3 words. Confirms, stretches, or contradicts. Does it confirm the person you are becoming? Does it stretch you without corrupting you? Or does it contradict the values you claim to live by? Write this down. Every repeated decision rehearses a future identity. Choices do not merely take you somewhere. They train you to become someone. Identity establishes who is making the decision, but it does not tell you which worthy possibility belongs to this particular season. For that, we must move to the second filter, assignment. Assignment is the responsibility, contribution, and work entrusted to you in the present season. Notice that assignment is not everything you are capable of doing. It is not every problem you can solve, every invitation you can accept, or every impressive possibility you can imagine. Assignment answers a narrower question: what am I responsible for now? This distinction will protect your life. Something may be available, genuinely good, and still not be assigned to you. Availability is not authorization. Goodness is not ownership. If you accept every good opportunity, you will eventually become unavailable for the responsibility that was actually yours. Comparison makes this difficult because comparison creates counterfeit assignments. You see another person expanding, traveling, leading, building, or receiving recognition, and suddenly their season begins to feel like your command. You were peaceful yesterday. Then you saw their announcement, and now you believe heaven is late. Be careful. Another person's visibility is not an instruction for your life. Under the word assignment, write 4 questions. Does this serve my governing purpose? Does it fit my present season? Does it honor my existing responsibilities? Who is depending on my faithfulness now? Suppose you are offered an expansion opportunity. It promises recognition, new relationships, and greater influence. Nothing about it is inherently wrong, but accepting it now would require you to abandon unfinished work, neglect a skill still being developed, or break a commitment already made. The opportunity is good, but its timing would make you unfaithful. What do I mean by this? Potential deals with what you could do. Assignment deals with what you should carry. Abstract potential becomes a distraction when it seduces you away from concrete responsibility. You may have the ability to lead 10 projects, but if doing so destroys the one responsibility presently entrusted to you, capacity has become an excuse for disorder. Write this down. Capacity does not automatically create permission. Some people are afraid to say no because they think refusal means they lack vision. No. A disciplined no may be protecting a greater yes. Focus is not small thinking. Focus is the intelligent concentration of life around priority. A river becomes powerful when its movement is directed. Now consider the inherited scripts around you. Family may expect one path. Culture may celebrate another. Friends may measure progress by titles, income, marriage, possessions, or visibility. Their advice may contain wisdom, and you should listen respectfully. But advice cannot manufacture assignment. People can help you examine your responsibility. They cannot invent it for you. So write the 3 primary responsibilities of your present season. Not 15:3. Who or what has a legitimate claim on your preparation, presence, work, and faithfulness? Then ask of the decision before you, if I accept this, what must not be neglected? Identity gives direction. Assignment gives priority. And priority gives you the courage to decline what does not belong. But an option may agree with your identity and appear connected to your assignment, yet still be irresponsible if its true cost exceeds what you can faithfully manage. That brings us to the 3rd filter, stewardship. Stewardship is the disciplined management of everything entrusted to you. It includes money, but it is much larger than money. It includes resources you can replenish and resources you cannot easily recover. You may earn more money. You cannot manufacture another yesterday. You may replace an object. You cannot casually replace damaged trust. This is why affordability must be redefined. A choice may fit your financial budget and still bankrupt your attention. It may increase your income while weakening your health, preparation, peace, or relationships. If you ask only, can I pay for this? You have counted the price but ignored the cost. Under stewardship, write 5 accounts: time, attention, money, energy, and relationships. Every decision makes a withdrawal from at least one of them. Most significant decisions make withdrawals from all 5. Now, visible price and hidden cost are not the same. Visible price appears at the beginning. Hidden cost accumulates through maintenance, distraction, recovery, divided focus, and reduced availability. The invitation may require only one signature, but maintaining what you accepted may require hundreds of hours. Suppose an opportunity promises greater income and wider exposure. It agrees with your abilities and seems connected to your assignment. But it also requires frequent travel, constant availability, less presence with your family, and the suspension of essential preparation. The salary is visible. The interrupted relationships are hidden. The recognition is visible. The exhausted mind is hidden. An honest calculation asks 2 sets of questions. What will this opportunity produce? And what will it prevent, delay, weaken, or require someone else to carry? If your increase depends on another person absorbing your neglected responsibility without consent, you have not eliminated the cost. You have transferred it. Do not confuse diligence with permanent emergency. Diligence is focused, sustainable effort guided by purpose. A crowded calendar is not proof of faithful stewardship. Sometimes it is proof that a person has been saying yes without government. Activity can create the appearance of progress while quietly consuming the capacity needed for important work. Ask yourself, does this decision depend on resources I actually possess, or on an imaginary future version of me who never becomes tired, never needs preparation, and apparently has 30 hours in every day? That person is very impressive. That person also does not exist. Now apply the relational trust test. What promise, expectation, or dependency will be affected? Have you included the affected person in an honest conversation, or have you privately volunteered resources that belong partly to a shared commitment? Rate each account with one word: strengthened, sustainable, strained, or violated. Time, attention, money, energy, relationships. Then circle the cost you have been avoiding, because it might change your preferred answer. Write this down. Every yes spends something, and wisdom decides whether the purchase serves the assignment. Responsible stewardship does not mean choosing comfort. Some assignments demand sacrifice, but purposeful sacrifice knows the cost and accepts it deliberately. Irresponsible overextension hides the cost, denies the limit, and transfers the consequences carelessly. Yet even a well-funded, well-timed opportunity can corrupt its outcome if the method required to obtain it violates your character. That brings us to the final filter: integrity. Integrity is the alignment of inner conviction, spoken commitment, and outward conduct. It means what you believe, what you promise, and what you practice are not fighting one another. Integrity produces wholeness. Compromise produces division. Now, integrity comes fourth, but it is not fourth in importance. Identity may show that an opportunity fits who you are becoming. Assignment may show that it belongs to your present responsibility. Stewardship may show that you can afford the cost. But integrity asks the final question: may this be pursued cleanly? Here is the diagnostic question: can I obtain, maintain, and explain this choice without deception, concealment, exploitation, or a broken promise? Very important. Most compromises do not introduce themselves as dishonesty. They arrive dressed as efficiency. They call themselves strategy, flexibility, survival, or just this once. Watch for strategic omission, exaggerated claims, concealed conflicts, manipulated relationships, convenient exceptions, and methods you would be embarrassed to disclose. Suppose you are considering a partnership. One route promises rapid growth. It can open doors quickly, but only if you exaggerate projections, hide a conflict, and pressure people before they have complete information. The second route is slower. It requires transparent numbers, patient conversations, and the possibility that some people will say no. Both routes may produce a visible result, but they will not produce the same person. Temporary advantage can consume long-term credibility. Influence depends not only on what you accomplish, but on whether people can trust the person accomplishing it. If your results increase while confidence in your word decreases, you are not building influence. You are borrowing it against the future. Integrity may cost you speed. It may cost access, money, recognition, or applause. But compromise also has a cost, and compromise charges interest. It produces instability because you must protect the exception. It produces secrecy because the method cannot survive examination. It damages trust because people eventually discover that your public language and private practice do not agree. Ask yourself two questions. Does my private reasoning agree with the explanation I would give publicly? And would I recommend this same method to someone I am responsible for leading? If you would hide the method from those who trust you, do not use the outcome to justify it. Integrity is not another score to average with the other three tests. It is a veto. You cannot say, the choice passed identity, assignment, and stewardship, so a little dishonesty should be acceptable. No. A profitable result cannot compensate for a method that requires you to become untrustworthy. Under integrity, complete this sentence. Even if this costs me the opportunity, I will not. Name the deception you will not use, the promise you will not break, the person you will not exploit, or the conviction you will not sell. Make the boundary clear before the reward makes compromise attractive. Write this down. Two roads may reach a visible destination, but only the road of integrity allows you to arrive whole. Now all four tests are established. Let us apply them where decisions become especially difficult, not when the choice is good versus evil, but when two genuinely good options compete. Now let us put the entire filter to work. Imagine you receive two offers. The first is visible, lucrative, urgent, and widely praised. People recognize the organization. The title sounds impressive. The deadline is short, and everyone around you says this is the opportunity you have been waiting for. The second offer is quieter. It pays less initially. It develops slowly, but it is closely connected to responsibilities you already carry and work you have been preparing to do. How do you choose? Not by excitement, not by appearance. Use the filter. First, identity. What habits and values will each option reinforce? Who will you become after practicing that environment for 3 years? The visible offer may strengthen courage and competence, or it may train dependence on recognition. The quieter offer may develop patience and mastery, or it may merely protect you from necessary growth. Be honest. Second, assignment. Which option serves the governing purpose of this season? What responsibilities cannot be delegated, delayed, or recovered if neglected? One offer may be excellent in general, but disruptive in particular. The question is not whether it is good. The question is whether it is yours now. Third, stewardship. Compare more than income. Count time, attention, money, energy, and relationships. What does each path produce? What does each path consume? One opportunity may pay more while demanding constant recovery. The other may pay less while preserving capacity for preparation and family. Count the whole cost. Fourth, integrity. What promises, disclosures, methods, and relationships are involved? Can you accept either offer without hiding facts, breaking commitments, manipulating people, or violating conviction? Now, do not become superstitious about appearances. The quieter option is not automatically more spiritual. The difficult option is not automatically more obedient. Sometimes the larger opportunity is assigned. Sometimes the slower road is fear wearing humble clothing. The filter, not the image, must produce the conclusion. What if both options pass? Then rank them by present priority. Ask which one creates the least damaging neglect. Determine whether one opportunity must be rejected or merely deferred. A delayed yes is not always a destroyed future. What if neither passes? Then refuse both. That space may be necessary to repair capacity, complete preparation, clarify assignment, or wait for a cleaner opportunity. And understand this: clarity does not always remove grief. You may release something genuinely good. A mature decision can be right and still feel costly. Draw 2 columns for the options and 4 rows for identity, assignment, stewardship, and integrity. Write 1 honest sentence in every box. No speeches, no excuses. Let the standard speak. Write this down. A disciplined no is often the guardian of a more important yes. But even when the filter produces a clear answer, the crowd can make that answer feel wrong. So now we must remove approval, comparison, and fear of missing out from the throne. People-pleasing rarely introduces itself as fear. It calls itself kindness. It calls itself loyalty, humility, respect, or keeping the peace. But if your decision is controlled by the terror of disappointing someone, fear is governing even when your language sounds polite. Now, wise counsel is necessary, but counsel and permission are not the same. Counsel contributes wisdom to your decision. Permission transfers authority over the decision. You should listen to people who possess truth, experience, and a legitimate relationship to the consequences. But they must not become the owners of an assignment they do not carry. Public reaction is too unstable to govern identity, timing, or obedience. The same crowd that praises one decision may criticize the next. People often respond according to what they understand, what they prefer, or what keeps their world comfortable. If their applause becomes your compass, their silence will make you feel lost. Comparison creates another danger: false urgency. You see someone else advancing, announcing, purchasing, marrying, building, or receiving recognition, and their visible progress becomes an emergency in your mind. Suddenly you feel behind. Behind whom? You cannot be late for another person's assignment. Imagine that your family and friends favor the culturally impressive path. They want the title they can explain, the income they can mention, and the decision they can celebrate publicly. But your filter points toward a quieter season of preparation, caregiving, relational repair, or skill development. Their preference may be sincere. It still cannot replace your responsibility. Sort the voices around you into 3 groups. First, governing authority, God's principles and the legitimate obligations already entrusted to you. Second, trusted counsel, people with relevant wisdom, proven character, and honest awareness of the consequences. Third, ambient noise, trends, projections, comparisons, and opinions from people who will not carry the cost. When fear of missing out becomes loud, step away from the audience. Pause unnecessary exposure. Revisit your 4 written tests. Then ask, what would I choose if nobody applauded and nobody criticized? That question often reveals how much of the struggle belongs to the crowd. When you must decline, do it respectfully. Thank you for caring and for sharing your perspective. I have considered it carefully. I have decided to take this direction, and I need to remain faithful to it. Gratitude, decision, boundary. You do not need a courtroom argument every time someone disagrees. Now ask yourself, which relationship has been receiving a vote it was never assigned? What boundary would restore proper order? Maturity is not rejecting every opinion. It is knowing which voices inform the decision and which voice governs it. You can seek wisdom without becoming dependent on consensus. You can withstand misunderstanding without becoming hostile. But once the pressure has been removed and the choice has passed all 4 tests, continued analysis can become avoidance wearing the clothes of wisdom. The decision must now enter action. Now, do not assume that a costly decision is automatically a righteous decision. Pain does not prove purpose. Difficulty does not certify obedience. Some people create unnecessary hardship and then call it sacrifice. No. Sacrifice becomes meaningful only after the choice has passed identity, assignment, stewardship, and integrity. Once the choice passes, however, you must recognize the difference between counting the cost and negotiating a settled conviction. Counting the cost prepares you to obey intelligently. Endless reconsideration postpones obedience by reopening questions the standard has already answered. Fear often returns after clarity. It does not always bring new information. Sometimes it simply magnifies what you may lose, how uncomfortable change may feel, and how uncertain the next season appears. Fear says, look again, then perhaps 47 more times, just to be safe. Suppose the filter leads you to decline a visible opportunity because you must keep a promise, complete your preparation, repair damaged trust, or build something quietly before seeking recognition. The decision is sound, but after you decline, excitement disappears. You feel the loss. You wonder what people will think. You imagine the future you might have had. That emotional resistance does not automatically invalidate the decision. Feelings may object to a standard they were never given authority to overrule. So move the decision into action. What is the first observable act? Make the call, submit the plan, decline the offer, schedule the work, establish the boundary, begin the neglected responsibility. A decision without an action remains vulnerable to pressure. Give that action a deadline short enough to prevent renewed negotiation. Then write 1 paragraph explaining why the choice passed the 4 tests. Do this while clarity is strong, because when emotion changes, your written reasoning will remind you what the pressure wants you to forget. Next, anticipate resistance. What will you do when you are tired? What will you say when someone criticizes you? How will you respond when a shortcut appears? What boundary will protect you when the abandoned option becomes attractive again? Pre-decide the response. Consistency builds self-trust. Every time you keep a sound commitment despite changing emotion, you provide evidence that principle can govern feeling. But every time you repeatedly abandon your own considered decision, you teach yourself that your word has no authority. Write this progression down. Decision establishes direction. Action gives the decision movement. Consistency turns movement into character. You do not need to wait for complete emotional comfort. You need a tested decision and a faithful first step. Now we will finish by turning this entire framework into a written personal covenant, one you can use for the decision before you and return to whenever pressure comes again. Now bring back the unresolved choice you named at the beginning. We are going to turn principle into documentation. Remember the framework. Identity governs who you are becoming. Assignment governs your present priority. Stewardship governs the true cost. Integrity governs the method. Who, what, cost, and how. Those 4 questions prevent pressure from becoming your master. Write the decision in one neutral sentence. Remove dramatic language. Remove sales language. Do not write, "This is the greatest opportunity of my life," or "Everything will collapse if I refuse." Simply state what you are deciding. Now draw 4 boxes. In the first box, write what this choice will form in you. In the second, write which present responsibility it serves. In the third, write what it will truly cost in time, attention, money, energy, and relationships. In the fourth, write whether it can be carried out cleanly. Then identify the strongest pressure attached to the decision. Is it urgency, approval, fear, immediate reward? Name it and write beside it. You may inform me, but you will not govern me. Now write your decision covenant. Because of who I am becoming, what I am assigned to carry, what I must faithfully steward, and what integrity requires, I choose this direction. Complete the sentence. Sign it. Date it. A vague intention invites another debate. A documented decision creates a point of accountability. Beneath the covenant, write 3 details. First, the action you will take within 24 hours. Second, the boundary that will protect the decision when pressure returns. Third, the date when you will review the results. Review the results honestly, but do not casually reopen settled principles every time your emotions change. Share the covenant with one trustworthy person, someone who can ask whether you acted, not someone who will take responsibility for acting in your place. Accountability supports your government, it does not replace it. We began with a question disguised as confusion. Which road is easier? But that was never the governing question. The governing question is this: which road agrees with the person I am responsible to become? Clarity grows when principle establishes the standard before pressure arrives. Identity gives direction. Assignment gives priority. Stewardship counts the cost. Integrity keeps the journey clean. So stop giving pressure a vote that belongs to principle. Make the clean decision. Take the first faithful action. And when the noise returns, return to the covenant not to escape responsibility, but to remember the standard by which you chose.